You were asking why our nanny was able to hang out with our kids and none of the other kids could. I basically wrote down.
Kody Brown didn't slam a door, didn't flip a table, didn't yell at the sky or punch a wall, not in front of cameras anyway. But insiders say the silence was deafening. Something shifted. Something cracked the moment the $610,000 payout cleared the accounts. One crew member reportedly called it an emotional detonation. It's a kind of invisible eruption that doesn't make sound but leaves devastation in its wake. While fans were still reeling from the headline-making sale of the beloved Coyote Pass property, once valued as the crown jewel of the Brown's family's future for a staggering $5 million, the deeper chaos was brewing behind the scenes. The headlines only told half the story. On paper, it looked like a tidy, if bittersweet, closure. But beneath that was the firestorm of Kody's unraveling. A storm that had been quietly building ever since the family fractured and loyalty started slipping through his fingers like dry desert sand. And then came the final insult. Over half. The proceeds from the land were allegedly split between the two women he had spent the last few seasons emotionally distancing himself from Janelle and Meri, women he had accused of betrayal, disloyalty, and even spiritual abandonment. And yet here they were, walking away with a tangible piece of the very dream he once used to control them. Janelle, calm and collected, reportedly turned to a nearby producer and said with a smirk, "Karma, baby." That moment, quiet but seismic, rippled through TLC Nation like an earthquake. Fans gasped, rewatched, speculated. Was Kody being generous? Had he changed? Was this the dawn of a new, humble patriarch? But the silence that followed wasn't peace. It was tension thick enough to shatter glass. Because, according to insiders, this wasn't a generous act. It was damage control. Kody hadn't gone nuclear because of the dollar signs. No, what shattered him was what that money represented. Lost control, fractured authority, and the undeniable reality that his so-called legacy had slipped away. While the cameras were rolling and he was too distracted playing favorites too. Notice, Coyote Pass wasn't just land, it was the future. The vision, the monument to his ego, built in red dirt and stubborn dreams. Kody had pitched the idea like gospel, a great brown compound. One home, one family, unity, faith forever. But what fans now know is that while he spoke of ours, the paperwork always whispered his. Documents revealed later show Kody's name dominated Coyote Pass to 97% control, a number that still sends a chill. The wives, meanwhile, were expected to contribute to mortgage payments, taxes, emotional labor, all while trusting that their reward would come someday. But someday never came. Janelle, ever the pragmatist, had tried everything, pushing for permits, even buying an RV to stay on the land and pressure Kody into action, but her calls went unanswered. Robyn, securely housed in a Flagstaff rental, watched from the sidelines while Kody deflected and delayed. Years passed. Frustration turned into resolve. That land, once a shared hope, became a weight Janelle no longer wanted to carry. And so, she began quietly exploring legal options. Sources say Meri did the same. Behind the scenes, lawyers were consulted. Emails were reviewed, questions were raised. Could they challenge ownership? Could they prove years of contributions warranted compensation? Could they, after everything, finally get what they were owed? Not in love or respect, but in cold, hard equity. Kody saw it coming, and he didn't like what he saw. The idea of a legal battle with two ex-wives, mothers to his children, while filming was ongoing. A PR nightmare. He was already losing public sympathy. The last thing he needed was a courtroom showdown, so he folded but spun it. He offered each woman $35,000 directly, then sliced up the sale proceeds in a way that looked charitable. He crafted a narrative. He was releasing the land, letting go, moving forward. But insiders say it wasn't peace. It was self-preservation, and when the checks were cashed, when Janelle sipped her coffee and shrugged karma, baby, Kody didn't rage in public. He waited, and then, according to sources, he exploded privately, but thoroughly. One insider described a chilling monologue behind closed doors. He said they were ungrateful, that he gave too much, that Robyn was the only one who ever really had his back. The anger was raw, wounded, and laced with regret. But this wasn't just about money. It was about power. Power he no longer held. For decades, Kody had played master puppeteer, deciding who lived where, who spoke when, who smiled for the cameras. But now, two of the women he once silenced had cashed out and moved on. Janelle went one step further. She bought her own land in her name only, just outside Flagstaff. It wasn't just independence. It was a declaration. I'm not waiting anymore. I'm not asking anymore. I'm building without you. That choice, more than any verbal confrontation, cut Kody deepest, because Coyote Pass had been his crown. Now it was dust, Robyn noticed. Sources say she tried to comfort him, whispering about fresh starts and family still intact. But even she couldn't ignore the tension. That land wasn't just property. It was the dream she bought into. A place for her children, her grandchildren, a promise, and now it was gone. Insiders say she felt blindsided. She thought they'd build there, one said. Now there's nothing left to build on. And just when they thought the story was over, Kody allegedly began exploring financial loopholes, looking into reopening past transactions, attempting to claw back funds related to the land's original purchase. But the deeper he dug, the more receipts surfaced. Years of financial entanglements, ignored texts, misaligned ownership claims. What started as damage control spiraled into quiet desperation. And Meri, she responded not with lawsuits, but with subtext, posting cryptic quotes on Instagram about choosing peace over pretending. Her message was clear. She wasn't playing Kody's game anymore. The power had shifted. Kody was no longer the center. He was the echo, and the women he once underestimated were now the headline. That $610,000 wasn't just a payout. It was liberation, emotional, financial, symbolic. It was everything Kody couldn't control, and Janelle knew it. That's why, when asked how, she felt she didn't rant, she didn't gloat, she simply said, "Karma, baby." And the truth is that one moment, more than any fight or finale, marked the real end of Kody Brown's reign. Because karma didn't come with fire and fury. It came with coffee and quiet confidence. And in the wake of it all, while Kody tried to rewrite history, the rest of the Brown women were busy writing new futures, ones where their names were finally on the title. Their voices in the narrative and their freedom no longer up for debate. And that more than any land sale was the real plot twist. A twist.
Without consulting me.
You know what? Let me tell you what. No. You stay and talk.
I'm done listening to you.
You stay and talk.
No. I'm not going to.
And let's just say some of those numbers don't exactly add up. Those receipts, they're already being whispered about in back channels. Because while Kody may want to recoup his so-called losses, what's trickling out now could flip the script entirely. Sources close to the family say that when the original Coyote Pass purchase happened, it wasn't just Kody's money on the table. Janelle allegedly funneled in funds from her own accounts. Meri reportedly dipped into her savings. Even Christine, who, let's remember, didn't walk away with a single dime from the land sale. It's rumored to have chipped in at the start, back when the family still spoke in we instead of me. So now, as Kody attempts to frame himself as the lone investor who sacrificed, a different picture is emerging. One where the women's financial contributions were real, significant, and long ignored. And here's where things get stickier. Insiders claim Janelle kept records, not flashy documents, but the kind of everyday paper trail a woman builds over time. Bank statements, PayPal transfers, old text confirmations. She wasn't planning to go to court, one insider said, but she wanted to. Be ready if Kody tried anything shady. And now that he's allegedly poking around with a calculator and a chip on his shoulder, those records may become her shield or her sword. Because if even half the whispers are true, the narrative of Kody as the grand financial benefactor starts to crumble and fast. Meanwhile, Meri has stayed more publicly quiet, but her tone has shifted too. That once hesitant half and half out posture is gone. She's traveling more, posting confidently and dropping subtle jabs that seasoned fans are decoding in real time. The latest quote about returning to yourself after decades of being erased. Coincidence? Maybe. But in this family, timing is never just timing. And while Meri may not be firing off press interviews, sources say she's been in steady contact with both Christine and Janelle. And that group chat, let's just say it's not all pictures of grandbabies and dinner plates. As for Kody, his frustration is reportedly bleeding into production. According to someone familiar with the current shoot, he's been difficult on set, snapping at crew, pushing back on story arcs, and insisting certain topics stay off camera. He feels ganged up on. The source revealed he's losing control of the narrative, and he knows it. And that loss of narrative control, it's exactly what's eating him alive. For years, he shaped the family's image. Now, with Janelle holding quiet receipts, Meri reclaiming her voice, and Christine watching like a hawk from the sidelines, that image is cracking wide open. And we haven't even gotten to Robyn's reaction behind closed doors, the moment she realized the land was gone, the money was split, and the power dynamic she thought was forever had just evaporated. Robyn, once dubbed the favorite wife by fans and critics alike, reportedly didn't take the Coyote Pass fallout as gracefully as she let on. Publicly, she smiled and stood by Kody. But privately, insiders claim she was blindsided by how much money walked out the door. Over $600,000 gone in one swoop. And not to build something for their kids, but to pad the exits of the women who'd left. One source familiar with the family's finances said Robyn was stunned and angry, not just at the payout, but at the fact that Kody allegedly didn't consult her fully before sealing the deal. She thought they'd go over everything together, the source whispered. But by the time she realized what he'd promised, it was already done. That tension didn't stay locked in the house. According to someone close to the TLC crew, Robyn and Kody were caught on a hot mic arguing during a break in filming. The subject, whether he'd been manipulated into the split or if he just handed over the money to make himself look good. The quote that leaked, "We needed that money for our future, not their fresh starts." And that single line has sparked a whole new wave of speculation. Because if Robyn's feeling betrayed, what happens to her loyalty, her influence, her grip on Kody's increasingly fragile public image? Meanwhile, producers are allegedly salivating. With the land gone and financial lines redrawn, the show suddenly has a new heartbeat. Money as the new battleground. In the past, it was affection time, attention. Now it's ledgers and real estate deeds. And behind the scenes, TLC is reportedly working overtime to capture the tension without breaking contracts. This is golden, one crew member allegedly said. It's like Succession, but with prairie skirts. And guess who's quietly watching it all unfold? Christine. She may have walked away from Coyote Pass empty-handed, but she's got something the others don't. Freedom with her new husband, David Woolley, her own home, and no direct stake in the financial mess. She's reportedly become the sounding board for both Meri and Janelle. One source says she's even joking about writing a book with them. Not a tell-all, the insider clarified, but something like a survival guide. How to leave, how to rebuild, how to reclaim your name. And while Kody fumes and Robyn simmers, fans are starting to rally behind the women more than ever. Social media is ablaze with cheers for Janelle's independence, side eyes at Robyn's complaints, and a rising curiosity. This is how the land story ends, What else have they been keeping under wraps? 'Cause if $600,000 is just the tip of the iceberg, what's still buried underneath? What's buried, according to more than one whisper, might include everything from early loan arrangements to hush-hush side deals that were never meant to see the light of day. Rumor has it that years ago, when the family first began investing in Coyote Pass, there were uneven contributions made under the table. Some from show bonuses, others from joint accounts that weren't exactly joint in. And with the financial spotlight now burning hot, those hidden deals could become ticking time bombs. If Janelle ever goes public with her side, one source warned, there'll be receipts no one saw coming. We're talking emails, transfers, stuff that could make Kody look really bad, and fans have taken notice. Social media has erupted into amateur detective mode, dissecting old footage and matching up storylines with public records. They're comparing property dates, LLC filings, even background audio from old episodes where one wife says one thing, and Kody claims another. The prevailing theory that Kody was never planning to split the profits at all until pressure, both legal and reputational, cornered him. And what sealed the deal wasn't just Janelle's quiet threat of court or Meri's mounting frustration. It was Christine's absence. Think about it. Christine didn't get a dime from the Coyote Pass sale. Not because she didn't deserve it, but because by the time the land was finally offloaded, she was already gone. And that has reportedly haunted Kody. Sources claim he's brought her up repeatedly in recent weeks, telling Robyn that he should have handled things differently with Christine, that she's the reason everything is unraveling now. If she'd stayed, none of this would be happening, he allegedly said. But that's just the thing. Christine didn't stay. She left. She moved on, and she made it work without him. And now the remaining women are following her lead. Even Meri Long, labeled the most hesitant to break ranks, is starting to shift. After years of waiting for crumbs of affection, she's now flushed with $35,000 and reportedly full control over her bed and breakfast empire. Fans are calling it the Meri era, and she's leaning into it. New clothes, bolder posts, and fewer apologies. One friend of the family said, Meri's done with chasing validation. She got her payout and she got her peace. Meanwhile, Kody's left trying to rationalize the outcome. To him, it may have started as a noble gesture, a way to be fair in the eyes of the public, but it's now being reframed by everyone around him as a loss of control. The money's gone, the land's gone, the unity is gone, and Robyn, his last remaining ally, is looking more shaken than smug. Because if Kody's empire can crumble over that next domino, some insiders claim might already be wobbling. And it could come in the form of a legal revisit. Whispers around the Flagstaff community suggest that Kody has been quietly asking about options for asset correction in plain English, trying to retroactively frame the Coyote Pass payout as a mistake. One rumor even alleges he consulted a lawyer about potential misrepresentation by the ex-wives. But if that's true, it raises a dangerous question. What exactly did Kody sign? And does he believe he was tricked into signing it? Because if there's one thing Janelle and Meri have shown recently, it's that they're not afraid to push back, especially if their names are being dragged into some revisionist history. At this point, the ex-wives have something Kody may never get back: peace, independence, and public support.
When I left Kody, I decided I wanted to find someone who was bald and had tattoos and drove a motorcycle and stuff, and just to find something so...
Narrative control. Janelle is thriving. Her tone is calm. Her smile steady. She hasn't ranted, she hasn't pointed fingers. She simply walked away, richer, freer, and more grounded. Her now iconic karma line wasn't just poetic, was calculated. It hit just as fans wondered how she truly felt. She didn't need to name names. Her piece said it all. Meri, too, took the high road but with edge. Her recent posts don't scream revenge, but they hum with clarity. Once pitied, she's now praised. She's not waiting by the phone anymore. She's traveling, running her business. and building a future with the $35,000 she earned. As one fan put it, she gave decades. Gave up. Now she's giving herself a chance. Meanwhile, Christine, remarried and radiant, has become a symbol. She left first. She left loudest. And now that the dust has settled on Coyote Pass, it's clear she saw what others refused to. One producer joked, "Christine read the writing on the land. Everyone else had to wait for it to be sold." But as the women rise, Kody and Robyn appeared to spiral. The land payout wasn't just financial, it was symbolic. Robyn, once queen of the castle, now stands in its ruins. A Reddit thread put it bluntly. Kody gave away the land and with it, his last hold on control. Robyn's silence is loud. Once tearful over broken traditions, she's now tight-lipped, and insiders say it's by design. She's reportedly focusing on damage control. One crew member shared that Robyn broke down during a recent confessional, sobbing, "I thought that land would bring us back together. Instead, it marked their final split." Once Janelle and Meri made their exits official, not just emotionally, but financially, a door slammed shut. Robyn, accused of manipulating behind the scenes, may have felt that slam the hardest. Now, she's urging Kody to reclaim the narrative. More filming, more sympathy, please. But fans aren't buying it. Comment sections are clear. The tide has turned. Praise floods in for the women who left. Fatigue sets in over Robyn's victim tone. Many believe she's mourning not the family, but the control she's lost. Producers are walking a tightrope. With a new season underway, Kody reportedly demanded editorial protection. One editor described his confessional after the land sale as barely airable. Not because it was scandalous, because it was sad. A man realizing the empire he built was never truly his. This season is raw. No weddings, no new babies. Just endings, reckonings, and the women finally stepping into their power. And yet there's one more twist. Insiders claim Janelle is considering a tell-all. Not the polished TV edit, but the full truth. The land deals. The unraveling marriage. The silent years. She's been approached by publishers and podcasters, and now, for the first time, she's reportedly listening. One insider claimed, if Janelle writes it, it'll outsell Christine's wedding special, and that has Kody rattled. Because while the payout hurt his wallet, the book could shatter his image. Over the years, Kody tried to control the edit to paint himself as misunderstood, not manipulative. But if Janelle speaks with receipts and truth, that mask might crack wide open. And she wouldn't be alone. Rumors swirl that Meri has kept detailed journals. One insider even suggested a joint project. Janelle, Meri, and Christine. Not a burn book, a blueprint. Of survival, of awakening, of escape. If that happens, it won't just be a bestseller. It'll be a reckoning. Because these women have what Kody lacks: relatability. They represent every woman who stayed too long, gave too much, and finally chose herself. Their journey isn't revenge, it's revolution. Now they share something powerful. Peace. No more auditions for Kody's attention. No more waiting. They walked away on one. Kody, meanwhile, is left with regret, dwindling influence, and a $610,000 reminder that you can't control people forever. The question isn't whether he regrets selling the land, it's whether he regrets losing control. But the story doesn't end there. According to chatter in fan groups and whispers in Flagstaff, Kody is planning a comeback through a men's empowerment retreat. Yes, really? Sources say he wants to help men navigate divorce, blended families, and media betrayal. The irony is glaring. Kody giving advice while the women he once led are thriving solo. One crew member reportedly said he wants to teach men how to lead families. What family does he still lead? And that's the haunting part. Because while he clings to rebranding, the women have already rebuilt. Christine's married. Janelle owns land. Meri's eyes are on the future. They found fulfillment without power. Social media reflects this shift. Side by sides, Janelle smiling on her property, Kody pacing in frustration, memes fly. Commentary mounts. The man who once led now lingers on the sidelines. Every attempt to spin the story only reminds viewers what he's lost. But here's the truth. This isn't just drama, it's transformation. What began as a messy land sale ended as something more. These women didn't explode, they didn't beg, they just walked into freedom, into ownership, into peace. And now we ask you, does Kody regret the sale or the loss of control? If Janelle, Meri, and Christine tell their story, will you listen? Tap that like button, hit subscribe, because the next StarSpill USA video is coming in. You won't want to miss what happens next. This story was brought to you by StarSpill US, where the truth of reality TV is never blurred.